bird just scared me. Sorry. Okay, so for any of you people out there who have read Laurel K. Hamilton, any of like the vampire series, Twilight, whatever, I ran across this series by accident. I was in college, was so tired of reading textbooks. One day, I just thought, I'm going to Barnes & Noble and I'm getting a book. I don't care what it is, I'm finding something. So I was, you know, browsing around, looking for something, and this kind of caught my eye. And I was like, huh, I wonder what this is. It's kind of an odd cover. And this happens to be an author-signed book. And these are set, this book is also sort of special to me. This series by Patricia Briggs is set in the Tri-Cities, and the Tri-Cities are in Washington State. I have been there, so when she's talking about certain places in the Tri-Cities and things, I can picture them. So it's really interesting to me, especially because it's a small area of the country that most people don't know about. I find it interesting. A lot of authors choose places that people have heard of before, you know, New York, Orlando, Seattle. And that's interesting because you've been there, you know, but sometimes it's nice to have something placed somewhere else completely that's a real place, maybe a smaller area, and it just changes the context of the story completely. Alright, that out of the way. Basically, this lead character, Mercy, who's on the front, she is a shapeshifter, but not as cool as you would think. She's like part Indian something, and she, not like a werewolf. She doesn't, you know, like burst her skin, and she's not totally violent. She can just slip into coyote form, and so she's smaller, daintier, very girly. And her sort of powers are different than vampires and everything else. So she lives in the Tri-Cities. She's a mechanic. Some of her friends are vampires. She lives right next door to like the leader of the pack, the alpha werewolf, and there's sexual tension there. Her old boss, Z, I can't remember his whole name, it's German. He's some sort of fae. There's, which I find very ironic, there's like protected fae lands, and it's basically like Indian reservations. It's the fae reservation, which I found just totally ironic and funny. Sort of a comment on how we stick people places that we don't know what to do with, or steal land from people, and stick them on reservations, you know, that they're afraid of the fae and don't know what to do with them, so they stick them in this like reservation that's guarded and everything. These were really refreshing. It wasn't like the normal sort of vampire book. The vampires are there's good vampires and bad vampires. There's no, they're all bad. Same thing with werewolves. There's like witches and warlocks and fae. There's 3 books in the series, and then there's a 4th one that's sort of a there's 3 books in the series. There's a 4th one coming out, and there's a 5th book that's a spin-off, and I believe it's called Alpha and Omega, and it's a spin-off from some characters from where she came from and where she grew up from. It's pretty interesting. I liked it. What I liked about these books is they're pretty much a page turner. I couldn't put them down, you know, read them in a day or two. If you've got a Saturday, you could probably sit down and read the whole thing. I just really enjoyed them. I think they're a great alternative, especially for all the people that are Twilight fans. This is a move up in the world. I have read the Twilight series. I love them, but they are geared towards juveniles, and, you know, Edward's delicious and all of that. But they're very watered down. There is violence, but it's not the same kind. You know, it's just it's just not quite as up in the ante in these kind of books. Along with, and oh my goodness, if you go from Twilight to Laurel K. Hamilton, you're probably gonna have a heart attack. That's a huge jump. It's like 5 times the action and the gore and everything. So if you love Twilight for Bella and Edward's relationship, you're probably not gonna find it in these books. Even though she does have relationships, it's not that you're irresistible and I love you and you might eat me. It's more like we both have our problems, I don't want anybody to control me kind of stuff. But it is sort of like the logical step from Twilight if you like that sort of out of the box romance action sort of thing. So I really, really, really recommend these books. I loved them. I've loaned them out to many people. They're pretty worn out. As you can see, I've got other books. Everybody I've loaned these books to has enjoyed them, so I can say that. And that's pretty much it for this series. I'll put the link in the sidebar as always, and I would still love comments, questions, anything you can put my way. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.